So if you're here, Tom Merritt, I knew you were here. If you're here, let me see you. And then we're going to go through because you guys are going to add strategies to this. You're going to add ways that this works for you. You're going to ask questions about, how this is working for you or not. And so we are talking about calling through our entire database by the end of the year, which is why there are not 500 people here. There's like 15 because everyone's like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. But here's why you're going to do it. So let's be clear. I am doing it and have been in process of doing it before I decided to do this call. So I have made a promise that if I'm going to coach on something or I'm going to tell you to do something, I'm going to do it first. Because I will tell you in all honesty, and Tom's on here, and we were coaches together in another program. I was told to do this a bunch of times, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I just, nope. And I didn't do it. So I'm just being frank. I'm never going to just say, oh, yeah, I do all the stuff. I don't. But I realized, listen, we all right now have one of two problems. You have a lead generation problem or a conversion problem. Okay. So conversion problem can easily be you've got a lot of leads, there's no homes for them to purchase, whatever it may be. Or you have a generation problem, which frankly, I think about 90% of people have more of a generation problem. And I'd argue if you're not swimming in leads, right? Like if you just aren't wading through them on the way to your desk, you have a generation problem. Because I think right now, if we don't have too many leads is a great problem. It's a different problem we need to fix. So we need to drum up some business, right? We also need to cement our relationships with our past clients. And we all talk about it and we heart referrals and we heart our clients and we're realtors for life and all these things and available 24 hours. Please don't put that stuff. Please I don't ever put that. I laugh. I'm going to start calling people like 3 a.m. and testing you on this theory, but we need to really think about why? So calling through our database is very on purpose. First of all, most people haven't called their database in quite some time. They may spot call, they may talk to some people, but an actual on purpose calling through the database, if I'm not doing it, chances are you're not doing it, right? If we aren't doing it, we know we need to do it and haven't been doing it, you haven't. So I think if you're being really honest, you're probably a little out of touch with most people. And then it's, what do I say? Right? Like I haven't talked to these people for so long. So now I'm just going to call them and, hey, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. You're uncomfortable. You don't want to do it. So we've got to come up with a purpose to call them. So I'm going to give you some strategies to call through the end of the year. And then I want you to also adopt these strategies moving forward so that you have tactical reasons to call them moving forward, that you don't have to come up with something, right? An excuse. I'm not telling you not to make a forward call, which is, in case you guys don't know, like, family, friends, occupation, recreation, dreams. That's great. I'm just going to be honest. I'm a high D. I would think a lot of salespeople are. To get a random call in the middle of the day that's just, hey, how you doing? Just want to check in. How's the family? I'm done already. Not to be mean, I think you're great, but I got a lot going on, right? Like if I'm sipping on my wine, I don't really drink wine, I drink lemon drops. If I'm having a lemon drop and answer the phone, you and I can speak forever. I'm chill. I don't have 1,000 things to do, but otherwise I'm literally in my head going, how can I help you? What do you need? And I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just being honest. So let's think about this. We're going to make this happen. So we're going to commit to this. And the great part is we're all committing to this. So yes, this is a realtor tactical call, but we're all doing it in next level coaching, including all the lenders. Yay. And we're going to make a contest. And yes, I do plan to win. So try to beat me. I hope you do, but let's make this a contest because it's that important that we do this. So I think if we don't tie a challenge into it or a contest, you're absolutely not going to do it. I'm going to share some results I'm having. Maybe you will do it. So here's the tactic. Let's just give it to you like step by step. You're doing this for relationship, reconnection or connection. You are going to provide value to them, right? And then ultimately the goal is you're going to be able to ask for a referral. Here's what I'm going to tell you though. If you haven't talked to these people in years, right? We have to reestablish some rapport. So I'm going to look to give them something of value, whether it be information, whether it be a visit, whether it be an invite to an event, whatever it may be. I want to give them something first. Because if I call them and say, hey, Chris Clock, how you doing? Oh, how's the family? Oh, how's this? Oh, how's this? Great. You know anyone who needs to sell or buy? It's just become a sales call, right? So we're going to reconnect. So here's what you're going to do. You are going to print out, like the olden days, your entire database, your entire database. You're going to print it out of your VIPs and past clients. Yes, because you're going to put your eyes on it. Because I don't know the last time that you've done that. It's wonderful that you've got it in the best CRM known to man. That's great. Hopefully, now, obviously, if you can't print it out, we have a bigger problem that we need to take 2 steps back. But let's assume you can all print this out. And when I say your past clients, I literally mean your VIPs and your past clients. We are not calling through 78,000 leads of people that called you 22 years ago that you didn't follow up on, right? That can be another strategy, but we're going to talk to our past clients. So now I need you to go through this list. And why is as often as I call my list, pay attention to my list, amend my list, sometimes I'm like, ooh. So when we went through this, even though I've updated the list, one person has since, and before I called, thankfully, I knew had passed away. 2 people had gotten a divorce. Now, some of this you're not going to know because you haven't talked to them, but let's do a once through and make sure that you realize, okay, I need to amend this. I need to think about this. In fact, if you haven't called for a while, maybe make sure they still live there. That's a bummer when they don't. But let's get this list to a list that you can call. Okay, that's the next step. Then what I want you to do is tactically, I want you to highlight anyone that has bought, sold if they stayed locally, but bought or sold in the last 2 years. Because we're going to have a very different check-in conversation with them, right? If someone bought 15 years ago, I'm going to approach the conversation a little bit differently. Now, if they bought this year, great. But hey, I know you closed in February or you closed last June. I'm just checking in. It's a different check-in. So I like to have a little bit different of a conversation. Plus, hopefully you remember them a little more and that the house they bought had purple carpet or wallpaper, or they were going to add a screened-in porch. Like you have a little bit more information still of things they talked about doing, something that came up in the inspection that they got a credit for, that no one on earth uses the money they're supposed to. So when you show up 10 years later, the problem's still there. Isn't that funny? Like, I'm not buying this house if they don't give me a $10,000 credit for a roof, and then you get back and it's still the old roof. It's like, that's cool. Then we're going to determine the reason for the call. That's why you guys won't make a call, because you're like, this is great. I have this list. I'm on it. It's on my schedule, right? I'm supposed to come in here and shut the door, and I got my list, and here's the phone. And the calls don't happen, right? Because you're like, I don't want to do it. So let's give you some tactics that you're going to do. So I'm going to give you several so that, you can say, I'm not going to do that one, but I'll commit to that one. So I'm going to go through a list. You can't say no to all of them, right? You can't be like, nope, 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 nope. You get to pick a couple, and we're going to strategize that we're going to pick a couple and then make them part of our process. And I'll share that with you. Now, I thought I'd start with the call that I'm making and my team is making, my brother's making, because it is going really, really well. So I will tell you from this call, I think we have 14 house visits scheduled and 10 people that need to sell and buy and 3 leads of sales from these phone calls in the last week. So what do we all need? Leads. What do we all need? Reconnection, right? So hey, that seems like a pretty good call to make. And every single person we call wants to talk to us. In fact, to the point I'm like, well, that was enough. And I don't mean that meanly, right? But again, hi D, I got a plan. So each call is like 15, 20 minutes. No one, by the way, upset to hear from us. No one doesn't remember who we are. Like that's all we think, right? What if I bother them? What if they're annoyed? So let's share the reason. We're going to call this a home maintenance check-in. For us, my brother is a licensed home inspector. If you do not have a licensed home inspector, the call is going to be a little different. But my brother has become licensed as a home inspector. We are making sure everyone is aware of that. He's still a realtor, but we want to make sure that as they know, because we are in constant touch with them, we're always looking for ways to give back to our clients, to provide valuable resources and information, right, in those in-between years that they really need us. So the jock is happy to come by their home and do any sort of inspection, evaluation, recommend contractors, see if there's something that they're really not happy about that's not going well, that we can give them advice and a connection to a resource. Now, for those of you that aren't home inspectors, you can say, I want to check in with how everything is going with your home. Are you having any issues? I have a lot of clients right now that need connections to contractors, painters, resources having issues with systems, don't know who to call, or they're calling people and those people aren't calling them back. That's all true, by the way. So if you don't have an inspector, that's your way of contacting them. So the call really is, now we sent a letter first because Jacques an inspector announcing this. So could you send a letter that says, hey, we realize that we want to get back in touch with you or stay in better touch with you. We're going to be calling in to see if there are any resources we can connect you with. So if you guys want a little layup and then a phone call, we did that on purpose. And then people were already calling us before we called them. And then we're calling through our list. So we're asking, right, is there any need for Jacques to come over to the house? Those people who say no, we're asking the second question is, what improvements have you made since the last time we connected so we can be updating our database? We need to know, right, if they've added on something, if they've finished the basement. We want to be excited about that with them, right? Or they're thinking of it. They say, oh, we're thinking of remodeling the kitchen. Great, happy to come over, go through selections with you, offer you help, right? The third thing is, do they have any contractors they would recommend to us? We're forever looking for great contractors to recommend to clients to add to our list. Do they have any contractors they would recommend to us? The fourth part is just anything else we can help them with. And then we absolutely ask for a referral. We do. Anyone you know that's thinking about buying or selling right now with all the noise and confusion in this market, we want to make sure that we save them from a bad experience. Who can we help? Right? Very purposeful. Of course, and now most people, we refer everyone to, and we say, we know you do, thank you. But I will tell you, again, from these calls, these are people that we are now connecting with and have appointments with. Now, I would like to think every single one of those people would have reached out anyway, right? Because they're past clients. However, what they would have done is, it's February 1st. We really want to be on the market February 10th. We have 45 days worth of work to do. Whoopsies, right? So we're trying to get ahead of anyone. So we're calling through the entire database. So if someone bought within the last year to 2 years, it's a little bit different of a conversation. We're still saying how, anything you needed to do, but I'm also saying, I remember you said you wanted to do this. Did you remove the heinous wallpaper? I don't say heinous in case they didn't take it down yet, but I'm able to really hone in on things much more specifically because it was so recently. So I will tell you, if this is a call that we are literally going house to house to house, and I've got people that need to buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell, sent us a lead, buy and sell. I got 3 sales out of 1. They need to sell, they need to buy, and their child needs to buy. Another buy, sell, another buy, sell, and then a son that wants to meet with me. He wants to be a realtor, not as ideal on that one, but still I can help her. And we're probably a third of the way through the list. So is that an effective phone call? Okay. Are you willing to make this phone call? Oh, you guys look super committed. Woo! Yeesh. Yes. Everyone's like, I guess so if you make me. All right. Let's say maybe you're not excited about that call. All right. So I'm going to give you some other calls. Now, these calls are going to be things you can do moving forward. They're harder for the end of the year, but you could still try to make those work. So let's talk about some other reasons to build into your calendars to call your past clients. So one is a home anniversary call. So we do a home anniversary program. We do an annual review program. I also send home anniversary cards. Let's say you do none of that. You could absolutely do home anniversary calls. Now, I find that they're most effective the month of their purchase. So while you're segmenting this database that maybe has spider webs and stuff on it because you've ignored it, you could be delineating your clients into the month of the year they purchased, ultimately any year, right? So it could have been, I'm 29 years in. So I have people 29 years ago and then people that bought a year ago. You can start also telling them, can you believe it's been 10 years? You can combo that into this call. I personally wouldn't if you're already making this call. But let's say you're saying, I won't make that call, the layup call that I gave you first. You could say, I can't believe, I was going through everything. It's been 10 years since you purchased your home and I was thinking of you today. I personally would prefer that you add those to next year's calls, that you in January call your January people, in February you're calling your February people, because you also need reasons throughout the year to stay in touch with them. But could you say, I was looking through everything in 8 years. It's been 8 years. You don't have to go by month. That could be a second reason, just checking in to see how you're doing. How is the family? You can lay up that way. I personally like my first call better, but you should be making home anniversary calls moving forward. Because remember, we're talking about calls to the end of the year. I also need you to have strategies all of next year that you are going to get on the phone and call people on purpose. So we don't want to call our clients too often. Like I don't, every 3 weeks, they're going to be like, why are you calling me? So I think we're either calling them too much or we're not calling them enough. So if you say, okay, I'll commit till this end of the year, I will do this, home maintenance check-in call, which is working. So you should. But as we move into next year, let's think about, okay, so once a year I can make a home anniversary call, right? You could, calling this time of the year, do a holiday check-in, right? The holidays are coming. So a holiday, I just want, this maybe wait a little longer, but it's the holidays. It's almost Halloween, but happy holiday season, right? Just checking in. How are you celebrating this year? You guys leaving town or not? Again, this to me makes more sense as a connection call with those that you have not spoken to for 5 years, right? I probably am not going to make a holiday check-in call if I haven't talked to someone in 7 years. But if I've talked to them recently, I could do a holiday check-in call just to see what they're up to. And then wanted to share some home safety tips, or I wanted to share some cool decoration, whatever it may be. I wanted to share a recipe with you. I don't care how you tie that in, but that's a call you can make. Obviously, if you're having a client appreciation event. So if you're one of my students, if you're one of my current realtor students, your homework for the end of the year is a holiday card. It is a holiday event, and it's a call, right? These are things you have to do if you work with me. So as your coach, my students now are all sending out a holiday card. We're doing a client appreciation event, and you're going to call your database because these are the people that you say you're in relationship with. So if you're in relationship with someone, that means you talk to them, you see them, right? And they're on your lists. So if you're having a client appreciation event, so like we're going to do an ugly sweater party. I love those things, by the way. So reminding them, hey, make sure you're coming to the event is a reason to call them as well. And then you can tie in any of the other things. What are you doing for the holidays? You could certainly invite them and ask them about their house, right? Because you don't need to call them 5 times. But if you're not doing an event, please go back to the home maintenance check-in. Then adding calls for next year, add in birthday calls for all your clients, all of them. Now, let me help you with this. So let's say, Mary, I'm staring at Mary. Let's say, Mary, you don't have your clients' birthdays. Well, guess what? When you do your home maintenance check-in, you can say, you know what? I can't believe I don't have your birthdays. I love to send fun things to my clients on your birthdays. Will you share your birthday? I don't have your anniversary. Like if you didn't do an all about you, if you don't have that information as you're doing in these check-in calls, you're going to gather this information as well because you want to stay in better touch with them. We have a lot of fun. They get gifts from us. I love a gift. Who wouldn't want a gift? So they should want a gift. They should want relationship touch points, right? So then you go ahead and put all your clients' birthdays on your calendar and you make birthday calls to them on their birthday. Now, I know a lot of us say, I say it on Facebook. Great. So does everybody. Everybody who doesn't even give a crap will put happy birthday. And then we're all excited about our 100 happy birthday messages, right? I'm much more excited about a call because nobody's calling and a card. So again, an excuse for your twice a year calls to these people can be their home anniversary. It can be their birthday, right? It can be an annual review call, which is something I teach. And then you guys need to be adding in check-in after moves calls. So I don't know how many of you are doing this, but most people aren't. Now, again, for someone who hasn't sold for 15 years, this ain't your call. But after somebody closes, put a 30, 60, and 90-day call on your calendar to call those people. So again, that's staying in relationship with them then. But the 30-day call is, how's everything going? Any issues? Did you find anything that happened after you closed, right? Do they need anybody? A 60-day call is they're getting situated. Did they check in, did they change their address at the DMV? Because I can't tell you how many people that have been here like 18 years and their address still says Colorado. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Anything else we can help with them? Do they need doctors? Do they need any sort of resources, local resources that we can refer them to? Because I grew up here. I live here. So how can I help them? 90-day call is, oh, I think you're probably getting out right now. Let's talk about my favorite restaurants. Philippe's a chef. Where might you want to go out to eat? Right. So we're kind of ingraining them into the community. So once again, you can't do that call for the end of the year, but you can add those in for next year. So I want you guys to think about these reasons to call people, right? So it's now October. You have till the end of the year, home maintenance call, client appreciation event, holiday greeting. Again, if you're really comfortable with I'm just checking in with you, go for it. I just find those calls don't get made. I think people mean to make them, they don't do them. So let's open it up a little because the whole point here is engagement. So I want you guys to first struggles you're having with making calls, why you're not making the calls. How can I help you through whether it's a mental block or planning for it or scheduling or whatever it is? But I can assure you it makes a humongous difference if you're going to do it to get back in front of the people that you need to get back in front of. So does anyone have what questions as we start this? Do people have? How can I help you get this done? And why haven't you done it before? Like, has anyone had it? I plan to do it and I just blew it off. So let's open up. I want to hear struggles. I want to hear why you're not doing it, or I want to hear successes. Tom, you go first.
I guess I have a question.
Yeah.
So is it the point of the call is to have a conversation with the client?
Yeah.
I find most of my calls result in a voicemail, and I speak too much on the voicemail and nobody calls me back.
Yep.
So would you suggest or recommend a different tactic to get them to call you back?
Yeah. So for Jacques, so let's see, when Jacques and I are making these calls, we say, want to check in to see how everything's going with the house. I have a few things I want to talk to you about. So if you could give me a call back, we can go over some things just to make sure everything's okay. Because I think when you leave it as sort of what do you mean? Is something going on with that? I want them to call me. So I don't want to freak them out, right? I don't want them to think like, the world is ending, but I don't want to tell them so much that they're like, I don't want to call her back. So I think when you're calling someone, so like even Tom, it's like, hey, it's Marjorie. Let's say it's a completely different reason. I have a couple really important questions for you. If you could just give me a quick call back or text me and we'll set something up. And then we can go over it. Right. I think when we give too much, and then because I'm curious, right? If someone's like, oh, I've got something really important to tell you, I'm like, well, crap. And then I'm going to call you because I want to know what's really important. I'm very curious. So look, there are people that we leave messages for and they don't call us back, and that's okay. Now we are being a little more specific this time because we sent the letter first. So for example, if you guys say, I want to purposefully, it's time, we want to introduce a program we're going to call our home maintenance check-in. We want to provide more value to our past clients. We're going to be giving you a call to see if you'd like to schedule a home maintenance check-in or how we can help you, right? Then when you call, you can say, want to make sure you got the letter about the home maintenance check-in. Please let us know. We have so many clients that are having issues that some are worse than we thought and some are not so bad, but let's see how we can help you. If they don't call us back, it's still a valuable service that we're offering. You know what I mean? So to me, it's what pre-work I did to set the call up or not. But I think if you give them too much information, like if I said, hey, Tom, it's Marjorie Adam, and I know if you got the letter, we're doing this and this and this and this, and we're doing this. And then now I'm going to ask you this, and then I'm going to ask you this. And then you're like, well, okay, that was the whole conversation. I don't need to call you back. So I think it's giving them enough to intrigue them. I think sometimes you can follow up with a text too, because sometimes people are better texters. Hey, Tom, just left you a message. Love to connect. When would it work for you? Because I might get a quicker text from you back than you listening to the voicemail. But you can't cheap out and just text. Everyone just heard that and they're like, sweet, I'm going to send a mass text. I'm not going to call any of them. That's just as a follow-up. Yeah. Does
Thank
that make
you.
sense?
Yep, perfect.
Who else? Let's see. Let's have fun. Brandy, what questions do you have?
I was avoiding that. I turned my picture on so you wouldn't call on me.
See, that's not how
Um,
it works here.
um, with your annual reviews, what are some of the things that you're covering in those?
So annual reviews, we also send out a letter first, which I can share with everyone. So I know Next Level and everyone has it. Summit has it too. So if you guys want access to it, you can just copy it. So the whole point of the annual review program, if you think about it, if you have a great accountant or if you have a financial planner, right? If you have someone that's providing you valuable advice, you're having regular check-ins. Now, if you're not, that's another problem. But like your insurance agent once a year should be checking in with you, right? And doing a review to see if your coverage is good. Your financial advisor should be telling you, right? You need to get me more money, or here's where things stand. Your accountant, it's tax time, worst time of the year, but there, let's check in and if you've had any changes, right? We're realtors. We need to be doing the same thing. How can I provide you value? How can I can check in with you? So the whole point of the annual review is let's go through if you have questions about the value of the home, about your homeowner's insurance, let's make sure you have the appropriate writers because FYI, nobody does. Do you need a referral to an accountant? Do you have a financial advisor? Because most people don't. Do you need any contractors? Are there any updates that you're thinking of doing? Because we had clients put 150 grand into literally rocks in their yard. I'm not kidding you. And they did nothing in the kitchen and the baths. So they had beautiful rocks that cost them 150,000 and they had a crappy kitchen. And then we went to sell their house and they couldn't believe
Maybe I don't have a picture.
they didn't get their money back. Well, they're nice rocks, but the rocks. So I want to help them avoid these problems, right? So the point is, we want to be that advisor for them. So we offer that, and then we call them to set that up on the month again of their purchase. And so, but it's also if they have a business, if I know they're business owners, how can I help them? Can I give them a shout out? Can I connect them? Can we do a video? So it's whatever it may be, right? So it's providing that value. Because if you guys think about it, we all say, oh, we're your realtors and lenders. I'll throw you guys in that. We're their realtors and lenders for life. All right. Well, they need us during the process. And then hopefully they remember us because we've stayed in touch with them. But then they need us again now 14 years later, let's say. So how do we provide value in between? Because let me just assure you, they don't care. You sold 8 houses this month, right? Like I always laughed. I made this joke for years, but it's sort of like if you buy a car, right? So if I buy a car, my car salesman every month said, I sold 12 cars this month. I sold 10 cars this month. And I'm like, I don't care, right? Like that's your job. And then I'm also thinking there's 30 days in a month. 10 cars doesn't sound like very many cars. Wait, how much do you make per car? Now I want to coach him on selling more cars. This is not the point. But if the car salesman, woman, not being sexist, car salesperson would send me something every month on actually how to use all the buttons in the car that I don't know what to do with, right? Like magic happens. Sometimes the light changes. I'm like, wait, I can't do that. I got to call my kid to use my car. But if he would say, hey, here's a quick video on that mystery button or this, if he would say, hey, I'm going to give you 50% off on detailing, if he would say now it's time to turn, bring your car in and we'll get you a loaner, if he's providing me value and educating me on the car and giving me resources, right? Like where I can go get this done, how I should only use this kind of oil. Don't get too specific with me because I'm not a car person. But do you understand the difference between that and I sold 10 cars? Well, what's our version of that? So we can send them all kinds of information, but do they care? Is it any value to them? Am I providing or anything resource or value to them until they need me again? Right? Or am I just marketing them and spamming them? So when you think about that, it's the same thing with the calls. I'm checking to make sure your home is okay. And by the way, I hope you're okay because I can provide them personal resources as well, but I'm their realtor. So I really want to be giving them advice on trends in their home and improvements to their home and how to maintain their home, make sure their insurance coverage is proper for their home, right? Like I want to make that ownership period until they need me again valuable. So we want to do these things on purpose and then have some fun things. Like I'm your realtor for life, but I'm also a person, right? So I want to connect with you at events where we can have a good time, like an ugly sweater party, or I do like a fireworks party because I love to blow up fireworks. But I want to be that resource. I want them to think of me if they have to do anything. I want them to think of me, to the point. I got an email last week from a client who said, "Hey, Marjorie," and I love when they're like, "I don't know if you remember me." Yep, I sure do. I have a friend whose son is buying a home in Japan and he wants to put $150,000 down. Can you help him? No. I don't know anything about home buying in Japan. I have no idea if an American citizen can buy it, but I love that he thought of me, right? I was like, I'm your resource. I want to be that resource. So every week we're getting calls about a painter. I'm getting calls about, I mean, people will call me about like a podiatrist. I'm like, I mean, sure, I can find you one. We want to be a continued resource right now, especially with houses, but people will call me about all kinds of things. That's what I want to be. That's my value to them in between those purchases and sales. So when we look at this database, when we look at these people here, these are relationships. We talk about being in relationship with them. Well, then we need to be talking to them. We need to be seeing them. We do not need to be spamming them, right? So when we're talking all about us and our cubic zirconia award and how cool we are, and I'm on the cover of this magazine, who cares? That has nothing to do with them, right? So, and Tom's laughing because we were looking at a magazine of lots of realtors when I was in Chicago. I was like, whoo, this is exhausting. That's not value, right? So the whole point in this reasons to call, and you're all different, right? We all have different personalities. Like my office is very fun and quirky. You might be like, that would make me crazy. So I'm going to communicate with them and offer value and do fun events because they're true to me. So for you guys, what you need to be thinking about right now is, what call will you make? Because if you won't make it, it doesn't matter. What connection do you need to have with your clients? What will you do, right? And what's going to be part of your process? I want you to do it before the end of the year because we want to reconnect with them in many ways. I also, if they're thinking of selling, I want to go see them now. I want to prep. I want to make their lives easier. I want to get people to their home. If they have friends that are thinking of selling, I think a friend of mine who's a lender said this, and I was like, this is one of the best things I thought. I want to save them from making a real estate mistake, right? I want to save them from a bad experience. So if we truly believe that, then we have to be in that relationship and value providing to them, right? So I need you guys to think about, because if you're being super honest, right? Like, so Adam, who's got his head, Adam, hi. Adam, are you a lender or a realtor?
I'm a lender.
Great.
I'm sorry, I was taking notes copiously.
Listen, I wasn't calling you out because I didn't think you were taking notes. I just wanted to ask. So when's the last time you called through your database?
Probably 10 years ago.
Woo! So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's the same thing for you guys. So you're just because you're a lender doesn't mean you can't say, do you have any home questions with your home? But if it's been 10 years, I think you can also look in any questions. Like, people are super confused with the rates right now. They're high, they're low, they're high. What are they? And we get a lot of generic advice. Like about 2 months ago, I got something, everyone's like, you should call everyone who has bought or sold in the last 2 years and tell them it's time to refinance. Please don't do that, because I literally went through every single client and there was one of them that should have refinanced. But you can say, hey, I wanted to check in. I want to see how things are going. Do you have any questions about the rates? I see that you have, because you guys have an ability, to see what the rate was. But, a lot of people right now have a lot of extra debt, right? So if I'm a lender, quite frankly, some of the calls I could make are, you know what? A lot of people have a lot of home equity. And if they have 26% credit cards and you can get a home equity line at 6.5%, I'm making up numbers. You guys know them better than me. I could be saving some money right now. When we were on a call, actually with all the lenders, Lacey was saying a lot of people are having issues with their escrow accounts because taxes and insurance and all these things have gone wonky. But can you help them with anything? Do they have any questions about anything, right? Any questions about their escrow accounts or insurance costs, or, have they made improvements that we need to make sure they're covered for? I think there's a million reasons. And you can also say anything with your house. Now, especially you lenders want to make the realtors happy. It's been 10 years, but if you happen to remember, so Adam, let's say it was my client and you're talking to them and you're checking in on their loan and do they need a home equity line? Actually, yeah, because we're thinking of moving. Oh, Well, would you like me to
Call
connect?
right to the realtor.
Would you like to connect me with, can I connect you with Marjorie? Because I know she can give you that advice. If you called me and said your client's thinking of moving, I'm going to kiss your feet, right? And love on you forever. So let's think about, and vice versa. If I have clients that I know need something, I'm going to send them to my insurance person, my lender, right? So this is a great way to support your VIPs and business partners too. So think about like, how can I help you? How's everything with the house? I mean, I appreciate you did their loan, but they live in a house, right? Can I help you? You guys have vendor contacts too, right? Like anything that we can do for you. Listen, right now I'm realizing a lot of my clients need a financial planner. Do you have can I help you with that? You can connect them with all these things as well. So for the lenders, it's not like, ha ha, the realtors need to make calls. No, so do you.
Mhm.
Because if
Absolutely.
they're thinking of moving, you can help them.
I think a lot of us from time to time, I know myself specifically, there's a number of clients that I had prior to COVID that in my head, they've probably all refinanced with somebody else, making me somewhat irrelevant, but I still need to make that call, right? Still, cross that bridge, so to speak. And I assume they have, but hopefully be able to rekindle the relationship, take their rate and get a strike rate for them so that I could potentially refinance them down the road.
Well, so I guess the first, again, for you guys, the first check would probably be, do they still live there?
Yeah.
Because they've moved. But even if they refied during COVID, hey, I'm just checking in. I assume you refied during COVID. Did you? Oh, awesome. What rate do you have? Oh, that's a great rate.
Right.
That's fantastic. So my guess is you're probably going to sit put for a little bit, right? And what if they say, well, we really do want to move, but because of these rates, and you say, ooh, well, with affordability, it's only going to get more expensive. You can coach them that way. So I think you take the bull by the horns, because just because they refied, they probably refied with 1-800-mortgagerefi.net. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean they
Mhm.
have another relationship with someone, and you can still provide them some value. Plus, if they've moved on and you got to update your list, you got to update your list, right?
Yeah,
Like for all of
absolutely.
us, like there's nothing worse than being like, oh, but it's time to get the over with and get back in relationship. And some
Yeah.
calls they might be like, Adam, who? And that's not fun.
I think that's one of the bigger fears, right?
They can't. So here's the funny part. It's true, but it's like, let's think about that. They can't hurt you.
Yeah.
They can't punch you. You know what I mean? Like they just can't. It's going to stink, but you might have to say, you know what? I don't blame you. So take it by the horn, right? So if you called
Yeah.
me and I said, I'm sorry, Adam, who? Yeah, that's my fault, right? I did your
Yeah.
loan 8 years ago, and you know what? I'm not surprised. We have not been in touch, but you've been on my mind, and I just wanted to check in with you and see if there's anything you needed. I'm sure you likely refied right during COVID, and good on you. What rate did you get? Like, just re-engage,
Yep.
because
Agreed.
otherwise, this fear of look, and we all have it. Let me just be clear. Like I have clients, I will call and we'll invite them places and everything, and they just are silent, right? And I'm like, they hate me. Every single one of them. I teach this stuff, they hate me. And then they call us. Like I saw two people yesterday. Oh God, we love you. And I'm like, really? In your head, you're like, do you? Do you? We love you. You've taken such great care of us. You are so involved in the community, and your cards that you sent us and the kids. And I'm like, okay. So here's the thing. Keep doing it. Like you keep sending the birthday cards, keep doing the referral gifts, you keep doing all of these things, you stay in touch with them. And when they need you, they're gonna think of you, right? So if they say, don't call me again, you can be like, okay, and then strike them out, right? I mean, but you're gonna have some of those. And again, if it's been 10 years, they might not remember you, but then you got to say, again, I can't blame you, or whatever your version of that is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Okay.
it just cleans up your database as well, too. So you don't have a bunch of
Here's
wasted.
the thing. If you think you have 450 people in your database and you really don't because they forgot about you, then you know what? We might as well be clear moving forward. Right? All right, Mary, I'm looking at you. Everyone's like, oh gosh, if I hang up, she can't ask me. Yes, I can. I can find you. So, Mary, what do we know? What do we need to work on?
Well, I'm just kind of sitting here and I struggle with consistency and making those calls. So if I were to say, get some positive responses quickly. I've been in the industry for a long time. Who am I calling right now? Am I going back this year, like this first initial set of calls? Am I going back and going, let's call everybody I've closed this year? It's only 44 transactions, so it won't take me that long, right? Or do I go back to 2020 and start there thinking that they most likely are going to be making a move because they're 4 years out. Does
Here's
that
what I
make
would
sense?
tell you. We literally went down the database, starting at A. But I can tell you that while I might not have talked to some of these people, we're in really good touch with them. So not one of them has been like, who? But if I'm you, so let's say we got to work our way into this. To me, whatever way is going to get you to make the call. So I would say if it's been 10 years for you guys, probably you don't start with those people. So then, yeah, why don't you start with everyone that closed in the last year to check on with them? And then, oh, that goes better than you think. And then go to 2 years, right? However it is, I would say now, here's what I'll tell you. If you go through the database, because I think a lot of people do this and you're like, ugh, like if you get to a person's name and you're like, they are awful. I hated every second of working with them. Let's cross them out. Right? Like if they were horrible to you, they shouldn't be in here anyway. I don't care if they bought $1 million or $10 million house. They were the worst humans on earth. They treated you like crap. They didn't want to pay you. You barely made it to closing. You hated yourself for working with them. Let's move on. So we're not going to start with them. Right. So again, I do it through the letters, literally just go down. But for you guys, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because then you're going to work to a point that if you haven't talked to them in 10 years, you know they're not going to remember you.
And are you just time blocking that, Marjorie, and just saying like, hey, I'm going to do this for 1 hour today, and then I'm moving on to the next, instead of making it such a big ordeal. And you're like, whoever I get through in this first hour, this is who I'm calling, and then I'm moving on.
Yeah, I recommend 2 hours, but here's what I'll tell you. I think part of it is how many people like make it scientific, right? So if you have 450 people in your database and you want to do it by the end of the year, you are not going to be calling on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Let's be honest. You're not calling on weekends. So if you know you have, I'm making this up, so please don't, you have 52 days, right? And you have 450 people, and I'm a realtor, so I don't do math. So let's say that's about 10 people a day. And I know that's going to be my goal, right? Like I got to churn through this. So you can either do by a 2 hour block, or I have 10 people to call. And when I have made those 10 calls, I can move on. So I think it's just making sure you get it done. So I think for you guys, however mentally you can overcome the hurdle of picking up the phone and doing it, right? If you get to one name and you're like, not calling them, you got to really think about why. Right? Like then you're staying in touch with them, but you won't pick up if you don't want to talk to them. Is it because you've just been out of touch with them and you feel like it's going to be painful? Then you kind of got to, hey, it's Marjorie Adam. I know we haven't spoken in a long time. I sold you your house 8 years ago and we have not connected. I have been thinking about you. I am checking in with my clients. I'm doing home maintenance check-ins because I have a lot of people that are having issues with their home and I really want to be there to help. You just sort of go in it. And if they aren't nice to you, well, no one should be mean. Honestly, no, these are your past clients. So, and your VIPs. So there shouldn't be people treating you poorly.
Are you doing any video on that? Are you doing video like, hey, like that quick little video, or you're just doing the call?
Because again, if I tell you text, if I tell you video, every one of you, even the video haters on this call will be like, a video? I don't have to pick up the phone. I'll video them, right? Oh, can I just do a bomb? She said I could. No, I didn't. I said you need to call them. Because let's be honest, you can all tell me this. Like if you go, what is the point of a phone call really?
To communicate.
Yeah, but ultimately, generally, when we pick up the phone, if I'm going to pick up on the phone to call you, and want to be in relationship with you, what's that next step? Of course, I want a referral, so don't say that. It's to see, right? Like ultimately, the phone is to get face to face. Now, you're not going to get to face with 450 people, and you probably don't want to. But really, a lot of the time, moving forward, it is, I'm having this event. I want you to come, or we haven't connected in a long time. I'd love to have coffee, or what I'm trying to do is get into their house, not in a creepy way, but to help them with something. I'm looking to help them. Look, they're having an issue, and all of these people, it's like, ooh, they're having an issue with their roof. I can help them with that. They're having an issue. They want to replace their really horrible carpet. I can help them with that. I'm trying to save them also from making mistakes. I don't need them spending 90 grand on, countertops, because they're never getting that back. Now, if they have a $2 million house, have fun. But a lot of people spend money in the wrong place. So we're trying to help them avoid those things. Our job, right, is to help them buy a great home that's an investment for them, that grows, that they raise their family, that ultimately becomes a nest egg that they sell and either buy another home or they have equity, right? Like That's our job, right? So I need to protect their equity. I need them to be taken care of. I can't have them have some major emergency and realize they just didn't have the right coverage. Again, not on us, but man, can we provide that value? Does that make sense? So I need you to think about that way. I think if you make these calls thinking it's all about you and what you're going to get out of them, that's not the point. The point of the call is I want to talk to you to see how I can help you and reconnect with you. What can I provide for you? How can I help you with your home? Right. And ultimately, sure, if I can then get a referral from you, that's great. That's yes, of course I want a referral, or I want them to say it's great to talk to your man. We love you. Those are great feelings. But I really want to be that resource for them. Because otherwise, what's our point for the next 10 years? Other than like, here's a pie, which is nice, but like, that's not the point, right? So ultimately, we want a relationship with them. We want them to, I want to be anything house, the first thing they think of, right? So that's that then they will refer to me and they will connect with me and they'll tell other people, you got to call her, right? She checks in with us once a year. You've got to call her. She cares about this. She helped us get our roof fixed. What do you mean? You bought your house 8 years ago? Yep. That makes sense. That's what we want. All right, I'm looking at Carla now. Hi, Carla.
Hello.
Happening.
Oh, not much.
Okay. So what are you excited about with making these calls?
Well, I actually just started making phone calls. So it's something that because I've been a realtor for 3 years now,
Nice.
and I've resorted to door knocking and events. But phone calls have been super hard for me because I am so awkward. And it's like I started with the Ford calls, and that felt so weird because it really was that situation where it's people I haven't talked to in a long time. And it just felt so disingenuous being like, so how's your family? How's work going?
Yeah.
Any fun plans? So after making all the Ford calls, I was like, the phone is just not for me. But once I joined my team at Remax, we started putting on events every quarter. And part of putting on the events was making phone calls. And
Yep.
so it felt a lot easier and it was even a lot more fun having these conversations, like because people thought I was calling them to ask for business. So they wouldn't answer. And then I would leave a voicemail saying, hey, it's Carla the Realtor. Just wanted to reach out and let you know we're having an event. I really want to see you there. Like, call me back if you want more details. I know life gets busy, so I'll go ahead and just text it over to you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If not, I'll reach out next week. So that's what got me a lot of good traction. Um, but then when the events are over, I call and I'm like, thanks for coming, or sorry, we missed you. And then after that, I'm like, okay, now I have nothing to call for. Um, so yeah, once when we don't have events going on, like realistically, and if I'm being completely honest, it is a lack of motivation because then I'm just calling to call. And I feel like if I'm not having an event, then people are kind of like, oh, so you're calling just to catch up. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. And then the more people that don't answer, it's easier for me to say, oh, well, people are at work right now. So why call? I'll just do it later. And then I never do it.
So you would like to think it's only you, right? So the funny part is it's not. I could
Mhm.
have the 200 people that are going to be at our event next week all stand up if they're making their calls regularly. And if they're going to be honest, almost nobody should stand up. There are a few
Mhm.
people that are really diligent about it. It's just true, right? People would be like, oh,
Mhm.
it's totally me. And I'm like, you're lying.
Mhm.
Because it's that way. First, we get in our heads. They don't want to hear from us. I'm awkward on the phone. That's yours.
Yep.
I don't have
Yep.
a reason to call, right? So that's why if you think about it, if you go back through, and I'm actually going to give you a couple events, guys, some events that you should throw
Mhm.
or we can do to give you some ideas. But if you think about it, it's like, okay, reasons to call is the point of this call. So number one was a home maintenance check-in. Okay.
Mhm.
Number two is a home anniversary call. Because remember, we don't need to call them 100 times. Because again, they're going to be like, what on earth could you? So we're not trying to bug them. We're trying to be, hey, I'm here for you. Hey, really don't forget about me. And hey, I want to be a resource to you. So if you did a home maintenance check-in call by the end of the year, and next year you said, okay, I'm going to commit to home anniversary calls on the month of their sale or purchase, or the annual review call, combining it can be fine. If you say, I'm going to do a birthday call,
Mm-hmm.
right? So because everyone has one, right? So if I did a home anniversary call and a birthday call, there's 2 on purpose calls. Now, to me, I personally would probably do the annual review call and let's say a birthday call. And then the filler calls are the invites, right? And then for clients that close, there's the 30, 60, 90 call. You can then add a 6-month call, right? Because there's an absolute benefit to those calls. So I think if you say I'm going to commit to these, then you're not going to have a reason for it to be 10 years where you go, I haven't spoken to them.
Yeah.
Right. But here's an on purpose call. And you can, like I said, you can check in with them on other calls you can make, right? So, hey, a community resource call, right? Right now it's the time of year that there are a lot of charities in need. There's a lot of people in need that we want to give back to. So, I am compiling a list of resources, right, for families in need. Do you have any programs or recommendations for me? Because I really want to give back to the community this fall, which we do. We do a lot. We do toy lift, we do food bank, we do all kinds of things. But last year it was like we teamed up with a group and they make sure that babies have like diapers and formulas, right? It was like, oh, that's amazing. So we went and did deliveries for them. So to me, it's like, okay, we want to give back to the community. What are they involved in I should know about? Or do they know of resources that I can share with clients or people in need, right? So they might know the best place to, that this organization needs coats. Oh, well, shoot, everyone has extra coats. So when I'm making calls, I can say, if you have an extra coat, this organization really needs them. I'll even pick it up, right? So how can we do that? Otherwise, promoting local businesses, right? If you know a client has a local business, how can I support that? Maybe we can do a quick video. Maybe I can do a Yelp review or I can do a Google review. Like, let's think really much more broadly about those clients, about our community. Again, the more you take it off you, right, and you're helping others, it's like fundraising. I think most of you would agree if you needed to fundraise, you could call people. I can call people and ask for money. I don't care who you are. I don't care if I know you. And I can just be like, you're going to give me money and here's why. Because it's not about us. So when we have these problems with those calls, mostly it's because we're making them about us. It's something that we need or we're saying, "Ooh," right? That's the problem. Now I said I was going to share. So I think you guys think about the things like an event to invite them to. So, and again, I think the key being not expensive. None of us, at least I don't have this budget of like, let's have limos and red carpets and let's invite them to the fruit. I ain't got time for that, but I also don't have the budget for it right now. But like, what are things you guys are super excited about? So, and also your resources. My husband's a chef. I'm very lucky. I can't cook. I don't boil water. I would burn it. I'm the worst. I don't like the grocery store. I love to eat. But we're doing a lot of cooking classes or cooking videos. And during COVID, we did that. So a connection to clients was we would do these Zoom cooking classes because obviously you couldn't go anywhere. And so we wanted to connect. So you could do cooking classes with local chefs or you could do client appreciation barbecues. We've done tons of these and I blow up fireworks at them where they do a potluck, right? You can even do it at your house. Hey, bring a dish, bring your favorite drink. Let's hang out. Ugly sweater party is going to be that way. You can do themed holiday parties, but then think about education components of what we do. You could do a home maintenance workshop, tips on maintaining their home. You could do a first-time home buyer seminar. You could do like staging demonstrations, financial planning classes, because no one knows how to do a budget, interior design trends, right? Hey, if you're thinking of doing any updates to the home, let's get together. I've got a designer coming in that's going to tell you the things that really are going to show, like maybe nobody does granite anymore. I'm making this up, but things that people need to know if they're thinking about making improvements. Now, who's going to come to that? People who are thinking about making improvements, right? Like some people don't care, but I then want to get in front of those people. Financial literacy classes. So I will tell you if you can do a financial literacy class for anyone who has teenagers, and then they should come too because they're not financially literate either, but you don't have to tell them that. Like they don't teach that stuff in school. So I can tell you, like my kids were like, "What's a checkbook?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a horrible parent," right? So it's like teaching them like balancing your accounts and what credit cards really mean, right? It's not free money. How can we help them? right? How can we help the next generation? For me, it's also women, like helping women with interviews, like because a lot of people are not great in interviews. So how can we help people prepare for interviews for jobs when they're coming out of high school, if they need to get into the workforce or college? What are your strengths? What are things you're excited about? What are things that you can have groups? And by the way, the fun thing is you'll have a different person probably at a financial literacy group than maybe a staging one. And I want to get in front of different people. So when you're thinking about, again, what do you need to do? Who do you need to get in front of? Why should I call them? You could already, look, you guys got to be thinking about 2025. So in 2025, let's say you commit to 4 like mini events. You can do them right at your office, right? You can say, I'm going to do a financial literacy one. I'm going to do a home improvement one. I'm going to do, shoot, you can do a first time home buyer one, and I'll do a client appreciation barbecue. Like you can say, these are the 4 events. That's going to give you, by the way, reasons to call people again. I'm going to commit to my home anniversary program or my annual view program, and I'm going to commit to a birthday call. Like, don't overcommit. You know, you're not going to do 62 things. So let's say you've never done an event. Let's take a step back. Let's commit to 2 next year. First 6 months of the year, second 6 months of the year, right? Because if I tell you every month's not going to happen, quarterly might be too much for you guys too. But first 6 months of the year, I'm going to do this. Second 6 months of the year. By the way, some of these things you could do Zoom seminars. Now I know the point is to get in front of people, but if we're having trouble getting people to come, I could get my financial advisor in February to give them tax prep tips for tax season for April, right? Like, let's be creative in how we can provide value to these people, right? And I think if I can give you guys any like ending thoughts. One, we all feel awkward. Like I appreciate that you said that, because all of us have our hangups. You know, it's the same thing with video. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. It's the wrong time of day. I can't call in the morning. I can't call in the afternoon. Nobody answers the phone. I can't leave a voicemail. They don't want to talk to me. They don't remember me. They don't care about me. They don't like me. Like, we all have our excuses, right? And all of us. And again, I don't care the most successful of successful, or I just started. Everyone has that. And if we just keep not doing it, 10 more years goes by and we didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't take that action. But here's what I'll tell you. You're hungry enough, you're going to make some phone calls. If you need leads, I can tell you, like, if you're going to tell me I got to go knock on a door or pick up the phone, I will pick up the phone. If you got to tell me I'm not going to have any closings, I'm going to pick up the phone, right? If you're going to tell me my business is going to suffer, I'm going to pick up the phone. But again, turn it outward. You're not making this call for you. It's not about you. It's about them. Making it about you makes it so that you won't pick up the phone. So the challenge is to the people listening, and what's the best is, I know we got a bunch of chickens on here that have never turned on their cameras. I see you all, by the way, that are like, she's not picking on me. But for those of you that are left here and that are not showing yourselves, I want you to commit. I want you to commit to calling through your database past clients and VIPs, not all the leads from who knows when, by the end of the year. You have till December 31st. Now, any of you are welcome to challenge me or call me. If you have too much business, you have too many leads, you just called through your whole database, you feel free. This is where you should come on camera and say, nope, I have so much business. I've called, I just talked to them all yesterday. You're excused. But the rest of you, I want you to commit to it, because if we can commit to it and have this many appointments from a few phone calls, I need you to do that. And you're going to find joy in it. So I will just tell you, there's not been one phone call that I was like, well, that went poorly. I mean, every single one of them, gosh, it's so good you're doing this. I don't know of any other realtor that does this. Neither do I, right? Me neither. We are great, right? Like, you need a little pat on the back. But if you don't commit to it, it's going to be next year. It's going to be mid of next year. And you're going, yeah, I guess I need to call people. So excuses, enough of them. Let's get this done. Realtor or lender, I don't care which one you are. So I would love to see if all your chickens that are disappearing, will you commit? So the people I can see, are you going to commit to this? Mary and Carla and Sean, you are going to commit to getting this done. Adam shut off his camera because I scared him. Oh, is it Joanne or Joanne? Are you going to commit to this?
Yes.
You are. Okay. Oh, look, more people. Look at all the little people. Sue says, oh, I'm in. Adam says I'm in. Grace, are you in? Okay.
I'm in.
All right. So I want you all to just, and again, I think if any of you were to call me and say, gosh, that was awful, then we got to look at your database because something else is wrong. I promise you, Carla's in. Thank you, Carla. I want you all to do this. And guys, those of you that are lenders, talk to your realtor partners about this, right? And by the way, your accountant partners, everyone should be reaching out because I will tell you, it's great upheaval right now. It's the time people are going to be thinking about making changes. If your accountant isn't taking care of you, if your financial planner, if your lender, if your realtor, if these business partners aren't taking care of you, you're going to go look for someone else. So it's time for that reconnect. Like there was a huge stat of like 68% of people want more connection, right? They need more connection from their service providers. So I want you guys to commit to it. I appreciate that you attended a call about making phone calls. Because again, I think a lot of people were like, oh, not doing it. And for those of you guys I get to see next week, I'm super excited to see you in Sacramento. We will be doing more of these calls, and I'm here if you need anything. I am here for any strategies. We do have the library. All of my stuff is in the library at Next Level. So if you need access to an annual review call program or anything else, you can reach out to me or reach out to them and we'll happily share it with you. Okay.